All right, welcome back to another episode of Chip Theory. Today I'm going to be talking about yet another Mixolydian mode. Here we have our keynote starting on the left here as an E flat. We're going to be talking about the E flat Mixolydian scale, assuming this chip here is E flat, one of the black keys on the piano. You see we have the group of two blue chips split round about this way, so we would have E flat up here at the top like this with two blue chips and three blue chips respectively. Of course, here's going to be F, and here would be C, but we're just going to bring the E flat back to this side. So we have E flat, E, F, G flat, G, A flat, A, B flat, B, C, D flat, and D here. Again, 12 chips. Again, 12 half steps between the first one and its octave, the duplicate up here. These are going to be all unique notes on the piano keyboard, right? So, Mixolydian mode is the fifth mode of our major scale, which has a pattern of whole and half steps. The first thing we need to realize about the Mixolydian mode is the pattern for Mixolydian modes, which is a whole step, a whole step, a half step, a whole step, a whole step, a half step, and a whole step. And if you've been looking at these patterns, you would realize that that is the Aeolian pattern descending or backwards. So if we know our natural minor scale in terms of the pattern of a whole, half, whole, half, whole, we know that the Mixolydian mode or the fifth mode is the inverse of that, or simply saying that pattern backwards. So we know it as whole, half, half, whole is our Mixolydian mode. And of course, that's just simply the major scale starting on the fifth degree of the major scale. So we know that the fifth degree of a major scale is 7 half steps above its root, so we're going to determine the relative major key to our E flat Mixolydian mode by bringing this up to the next octave and counting down those 7 half steps to reach our relative major key. So we're going to count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here brings us to this A flat note right here, A flat. Again, A flat is in the center of the group of 3 blue chips here. We have A flat. That's going to be the relative major key for E flat Mixolydian. And since we know that it's 7 half steps down from E flat to A flat, we also can realize that E flat to A flat going up has 5 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because 5 plus 7 over here equals 12, which brings us to its own octave from E flat to E flat. That's 12 half steps. So we have 7 and 5. Okay? And if we can recall our intervals for 5 half steps, we know 5 half steps equals a perfect fourth, which means that E flat to A flat is a fourth, and that A flat, our relative major, is going to fall on the 4th degree of our E flat Mixolydian modal scale. And that will hold true for all of your Mixolydian modal scales, is that you'll have your relative major key, or the key that shares the same key signature as your Mixolydian mode, on the 4th degree. So we could simply play our E flat Mixolydian scale by playing an A flat major scale starting on the note E flat, or by following the pattern of whole and half steps that I mentioned before, of a whole step, a whole step, a half step, a whole step, a whole step, and a half step. And then the final whole step would be here from D flat back to the octave E flat. So again, that pattern was whole, half, whole, half, whole. And since we mentioned the Aeolian pattern descending, if we take the E flat Mixolydian scale notes and play them going to the left, we have the Aeolian pattern: whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole. So you can see how one pattern is uh, inverse to the other. We have the Mixolydian pattern ascending, and using those same notes, we have the Aeolian pattern descending. So if we remove the notes now that are not in our E-flat Mixolydian mode, we're left with these notes: E-flat, F, G, A-flat, B-flat, C, D-flat, and E-flat. And coming down, again, this is the Aeolian pattern coming down: E-flat, D-flat, C, B-flat, A-flat, G, F, and E-flat. Again, when we're ascending, we're back to the Mixolydian pattern: E-flat, F, G, A-flat, B-flat, C, and D-flat. These are going to be our notes of our E-flat Mixolydian mode. Again, if we note something about this, if we compare this now to an E-flat major scale, we can see that our 7th degree here, this D flat, has been flatted from a D natural. And Mixolydian mode is the mode known to flat the 7th degree of its scale. So if we think of this as an E-flat major scale, we would have a D natural, E-flat, F, G, A-flat, B-flat, C, D natural. However, if we look at the relative major here, the A-flat, we have a D flat, which essentially takes this D natural and flats it from D natural to D flat here on this position, the 7th position, to give us an E-flat Mixolydian mode on the D flat, from D to D flat. And if we can we move our A-flat scale here, you can see we have an A-flat major scale this way: A-flat, B-flat, C, D-flat, E-flat, F, and G. This is going to be a relative major scale, or the relative Ionian mode. So if we give these scale degrees numbers, A-flat would be 1, B-flat is 2, C is 3, D-flat is 4, E-flat is 5. This is going to be your Mixolydian mode we're discussing today. E-flat on the 5th degree, E-flat Mixolydian. F would be 6, and G is 7. So if we can remember our scale degrees based on the major scale, we can then move back to our Mixolydian position. To E-flat Mixolydian, we simply see we have the 5th scale degree here, E-flat, 6th, F, the 7th, G. We're back to our root of our relative major: A-flat, 2 of relative major, B-flat, 3, C, and 4, D-flat. So again, our scale degrees will be 5, 6, 7, root, 2, 3, and 4. Because our Mixolydian mode starts on our 5th degree. Okay, realizing that, we can form triads using the scale degrees: 5, 7, 2. In this case of A-flat, we have E-flat, G, and B-flat, which is major. Again, this will be major for all your Mixolydian modes. Here we have the 6, root 3, F, A-flat, and C, which is minor. Here we have 7, 2, 4. Our 7, 2, 4 scale degrees are always diminished. G, B-flat, and D-flat. Here's our root 3 and 5, relative major: A-flat, C, E-flat. Here is 2, 4, 6. On the 5th position, again, this 5th degree of our Mixolydian mode. The fifth note here is going to be a minor chord, B flat, D flat, and F. So your fifth position triad here of Mixolydian modes is always a minor triad. The sixth position here is our scale degrees 3, 5, and 7 from the relative major of A flat. We have C, E flat, and G. A 3, 5, 7, which is also minor. And lastly, here in this position, we have the 4, 6 root scale degrees of A flat, or a flat 7 position. This is our flat 7th of our Mixolydian mode, which is a major triad, D flat, F, and A flat. So in Mixolydian, your flat 7 is major. D flat, F, A flat in this case. Okay, using that same principles of scale degrees and alternating pitches of the Mixolydian mode here, we can now form 7th chords by adding an extension of a 4th note on top of these chords. So we can stack those going this direction here. So again, our scale degrees here on the first position of Mixolydian are going to be the 5, 7, 2, 4 scale degrees of our relative major of A flat. 5, 7, 2, 4. E flat, G, B flat, and D flat. A flat, G, A flat, C, E flat, wait a minute, E flat, G, B flat, D flat, E flat Mixolydian. That's right. E flat, G, B flat, and D flat. The 5, 7, 2, 4 is a dominant 7 chord. It always has a 4, 3, 3 spacing of half steps in root position, because the root scale degrees 5 and 7 is a major third from E flat to G, and 7 to 2 is a minor third. That's going to be here to here. 7 to 2 is G to B flat. It's always going to have a 1 plus 2 spacing, because G to A flat is 1 half step, and A flat to B flat is 2 half steps. So I call this a 1 plus 2 interval, and that's the same interval here between this note, these notes here, from your scale. Your 7 and 2 from your relative major. And here from 2 to 4 is a 2 plus 1 interval. It's going to be from B flat to D flat. You have B flat to C as 2 half steps, and C to D flat is 1 half step. So we're calling this interval here a 2 plus 1. A 5, 7, 2, 4 scale degrees has a 4, 3, 3 spacing with a 1 plus 2 and a 2 plus 1 here. So we have E flat, G, B flat, D flat, E flat 7 chord. The first position of Mixolydian mode. The second position was a 6 root 3, 5, F, A flat, C, and E flat. F, A flat, C, E flat is a minor 7 chord. It's going to have a 3, 4, 3 series of half steps, 3, 4, and 3. It's also going to have a 2 plus 1 interval here and a 1 plus 2 interval here. So 2 plus 1 between 6 and root scale degrees, and a 1 plus 2 between the 3 and 5 from our relative major, A flat. So here, C and E flat. So we have F, A flat, C, E flat. All right, the third position chord here is a 7, 2, 4, 6. 7246 scale degrees is half diminished. Again, 724 was diminished. That's these scale degrees here. 7, 2, and 4. We had G, B flat, D flat. And then if we skip one here, we skip the E flat and play the F. So we have an F, which is a major third above this diminished triad. So 7, 2, 4, 6. 4 to 6 scale degrees is always a major third. Scale degrees 4 and 6 in major is a major third over a diminished triad. So here we have G, B flat, D flat, and F, which is a half diminished chord here in the third position of Mixolydian. Our fourth position chord was our relative major. A flat, C, E flat, and G. That's a major 7 chord, because that's your relative major scale. A flat, C, E flat, G. It's a 4-3-4 spacing with a 1+2 interval here between scale degrees 3 and 5. All right, our fifth position chord here is going to be a B flat minor 7, B flat, D flat, F, and A flat. Those are scale degrees 2, 4, 6, and root. 2, 4, 6, and root. Your important scale degrees to remember are going to be your 5 and your 6, because those are the ones that are most commonly used in like the minor, relative minor key, or the key that goes to the next, on the circle of fifths. But here we're just simply on the 2, 4, 6 root from our A flat major scale here on the fourth position, or an E flat Mixolydian position. 5, 6, 7 root, 2, 3, and 4. We have 2, 4, 6 root. Again, on the fifth position is minor 7 in Mixolydian modes. It's going to be a B flat, D, F, A flat, and it's going to have 2+1 intervals here for its minor thirds. We have a 3-4-3 spacing with 2+1s between these two and these two. The next position here is a 3-5-7-2, C, E flat, G, and B flat. C minor 7 is a 3-4-3 spacing based on the 3-5-7-2 scale degrees from A flat. Here in the sixth position of E flat Mixolydian. It's a 3-4-3 spacing, and it's going to have 1+2 intervals for its minor thirds. So you can see here for our minor 7th chords here, here, and here, 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 and here, although they all have the same quality or spacing of 3-4-3 half steps between their intervals, 3, 4, and 3. They have slightly different spacings based on the half steps in the scale, wherein this has a 2+1 here and a 1+2. This one has a 2+1 and a 2+1, and this one has a 1+2 and a 1+2. That has to do with the scale degrees and where they are in the spacing in the series here. So it's positional dependent, depending on which mode you are in. And here we have the 7th position. This was our flat 7 scale degree, right? The flat 7 of E flat, a D flat, which is also the 4th scale degree from our relative major of A flat. We have a D flat, F, A flat, and C. Again, this is a flat 7, major 7 chord. It's also scale degrees 4, 6, root 3 from our relative major. Or you could simply remember this as a flat 7, major 7, D flat, F, A flat, and C. It's also going to have a 2 plus 1 interval here between the 6 and the root, scale degree 6 and root of A flat. So D flat, F, A flat, and C. Those are going to be the chords of E flat Mixolydian. Again, we're based from our relative major of A flat major. Now I'm going to talk about the inversions, assuming the scale degrees don't change. We can talk about the spacing of the qualities of the inversions based on the quality of chord they are. So here we had on our first position, we had a dominant 7 chord. And dominant 7 chords always have a 4-3-3 spacing. 4, 3, and 3. So when we invert this, this is E flat dominant, E flat, G, B flat, D flat. We have a 3-3-2 position. Now we have to remember the starting note of that. 3-3-2 starts on the note G here. Because we're in inversion, we have to have the third on the bottom. So we have the 3rd, 5th, 7th, and root of our chord. In this position, it's a 3-3-2 for a dominant 7. So G, B flat, D flat, and E flat. Our next position is a 3-2-4, starting on B flat, D flat, E flat, and G, followed by a 2-4-3 position, D flat, E flat, G, and B flat. Coming down as B flat, G flat, E flat, D flat, G, E flat, D flat, B flat, E flat, D flat, B flat, G, and D flat, B flat, G, and E flat, or E flat dominant 7. Our second position chord was a minor 7 chord, F, A flat, C, E flat. When we invert it, we have a 4-3-2 position, here starting on A flat, C, E flat, F, to a 3-2-3 position starting on C, E flat, F, A flat, and now a 2-3-4 position starting on E flat, F, A flat, and C. Coming down is C, A flat, F, E flat, A flat, F, E flat, C, F, E flat, C, A flat, and E flat, C, A flat, F. For an F minor 7 chord. The 3 chord was our half diminished chord. The G half diminished, G, B flat, D flat, and F. Again, it's a 3-3-4 spacing in root position. So when we invert it, we're left with a 3-4-2 position starting on B flat, D flat, F, and G. In second inversion, we're left with a 4-2-3 position starting on D flat, F, G, B flat, to a 2-3-3 position starting on F, G, B flat, D flat. Coming down is D flat, B flat, G, F, B flat, G, F, D flat, G, F, D flat, B flat, and F, D flat, B flat, and G. Again, this was a half diminished chord, our 7-2-4-6 scale degrees of a relative major, which comes next. Here's the fourth position of Mixolydian. we have the relative major A flat, C, E flat, and G. It's a major 7 chord, which means it has a 4-3-4 spacing in root position. When we invert this, we're left with a 3-4-1 position starting on C. C, E flat is 3, E flat to G is 4, and G to A flat is 1. 3-4-1. Here we have a 4-1-4 starting on E flat, G, A flat, C, or 1-4-3 position starting on G, A flat, C, and E flat. Coming down is E flat, C, A flat, G, C, A flat, G, E flat, A flat, G, E flat, C, and G, E flat, C, A flat, or A flat major 7 here in the 4th position of E flat Mixolydian. All right, our 5th position chord was B flat minor 7, B flat, D, F, A flat, a 3-4-3 spacing. When we invert this, we have a 4-3-2 position starting on D flat, F, A flat, B flat. In the second inversion, we have a 3-2-3 position for minor 7 chords starting on F, A flat, B flat, D flat, to our 2-3-4 inversion, 2-3-4 position, starting on A flat, B flat, D flat, and F. Coming down is F, D flat, B flat, A flat, D flat, B flat, A flat, F, B flat, A flat, F, D flat, and A flat, F, D flat, B flat. Here in our 6th position chord for Mixolydian, we have a C minor 7, C, E flat, G, and B flat. It's also a 3-4-3 spacing. When we invert this, again it's 4-3-2, just like this chord, starting on E flat, G, B flat, C, to a 3-2-3 position, starting on G, B flat, C, E flat, to a 2-3-4 position, B flat, C, E flat, G. Coming down is G, E flat, C, B flat, E flat, C, B flat, G, C, B flat, G, E flat, and B flat, G, E flat, C. Here lastly, our flat 7, major 7 chord was a D flat, F, A flat, C, D flat major 7, a 4-3-4 position. When we invert this, we have a 3-4-1 starting on F, A flat, C, D flat, to a 4-1-4 starting on A flat, C, D flat, F, to a 1-4-3 starting on C, D flat, F, A flat. Coming down is A flat, F, D flat, C, F, D flat, C, A flat, D flat, C, A flat, F, and C, A flat, F, D flat. Those are going to be your chords of E flat Mixolydian. Again, we had an E flat dominant 7, F minor 7, a G half diminished 7, A flat major 7, B flat minor 7, C minor 7, and a flat 7, D flat major 7. And those are your chords of E flat Mixolydian mode.